Hello everyone, this is my friend Selena. We used to work together at Greenpeace, but then she left us. But she's in town for the week, and I thought this would be a great opportunity to make a video about consumerism, sustainable packaging, because that is what she's going to school for.
And the lie behind it.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert ahead.
Before we get into what Selena's doing at school with her program, I thought we'd give a little bit of context, what we're doing at Greenpeace and what Selena used to do at Greenpeace. We're working on our priority campaign to fighting plastic pollution. So we're seeing a crisis with plastic. You know, it's ending up in our oceans at a rate of a dumpster truck a minute. It's devastating to marine life, and we don't want to see fishless oceans. So what Greenpeace is doing is just putting some of that pressure back onto the producer, demanding that they take responsibility and switch to biodegradable, refillable, reusable alternatives. So take it away, Selena. What's your school program? What are you doing?
So like Catherine said, the reason I went to do this program, it's called Packaging Technology and Sustainability. It takes place in Vienna, Austria. And the reason I'm doing it is because of this plastic pollution epidemic that we saw firsthand working for Greenpeace. And going around talking to people, I realized there isn't really a sustainable solution. And I wanted to get to the bottom of it. So I found this program, jumped across the other side of the Atlantic. And so now I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about what I've learned through the program, try to help anybody out there who's interested in learning some of the lies behind sustainable packaging and help you give you more clarity when you're doing your shopping, or maybe you're just generally interested and want to know a little bit more. What
do you mean that there's no such thing as a sustainable option?
So I realized when I was working for Greenpeace, or when we were, yeah, she still works there, that when we're telling people to use sustainable packaging, we're telling people to switch over to paper, go to aluminum, glass, anything other than plastic. Plastic is evil, it's awful, it takes years to biodegrade, and the recycling infrastructure is seriously lacking in this field. Well, what I've learned through my program is that actually all packaging is evil. Or, I mean, define evil, but it's not environmentally sustainable.
Greenpeace has since changed the messaging for this campaign, now presenting refill, reuse systems as the solution.
Paper is actually one of the most environmentally negative, not only through deforestation, but also the mass amount of water consumption it takes to create paper packaging. And there was a study in 2011 that reported that paper is actually one of the main contributors to methane in the landfills.
Yikes.
So that's not very eco-friendly, is
but
it?
It's like presented as the eco alternative because it is biodegradable.
Right.
That's kind of why I switched my language when I'm talking to people, saying that anything single-use is not ideal because it requires resources to make single-use packaging. So what we really want to see is refillable, reusable, bulk bins.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the solution. The solution is not to use single-use packaging at all. Whether it's plastic, aluminum, glass. Glass is also really energy intensive, so when you're recycling glass, you have to melt it down to the same temperature as new glass. So you're not saving any energy, and a lot of that energy is coming from the fossil fuel industry and the gas and coal industry. And when you're looking at other forms like aluminum cans, actually, funny enough, the highest risk to people to be contaminated with bisphenol A, otherwise known as BPA, is through aluminum cans.
No way.
During the heat sealing process.
Don't they have like a plastic lining?
Yeah.
So...
Yeah. It's funny how the packaging industry is fooling everybody through marketing. It's all marketing. When you pick up a piece of packaging and it's paper and it feels nice and it says eco-friendly, made from recycled material, you're fooled. Everybody's drinking the Kool-Aid these days. Marketing campaigns and companies are picking up on that, and they're really targeting people and seeing that this is a niche that people care about the environment, so let's trick them and make it sustainable packaging.
I guess we should talk about biodegradable plastic or bioplastic.
The joke of my program.
Because that was a solution that we started out kind of pitching, but then we realized, by we I mean Greenpeace, realized that this is what's
false
the word?
Advertising.
It's also like in its infancy in terms of like the technology, like what we see labeled as biodegradable when put to the test. It's not biodegrading.
Well, everything's biodegradable, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like the word natural. It's not regulated, really. It can mean anything. Well, it's just like a loose word. Bioplastic isn't really the answer. Like, what do you have to say about that?
So bioplastic and biodegradable plastic especially, like Catherine said, it's really in the infancy stage, and a lot of it is also greenwashing, because if you're using sugarcane, then if companies are growing sugarcane just to turn it into one-time use sugarcane biodegradable bio-based packaging, it's equally as bad. Now, this is also contributing to deforestation, so it's not really an answer. But when you're looking at packaging and it says biodegradable, I think everything biodegrades. Wood
Eventually,
biodegrades,
right?
plastic biodegrades, it all biodegrades. It's just a matter of when. And so that's something that companies really use in the greenwashing scheme, systematic, but compostable is actually a word that actually means that it's going to disappear within a certain time frame. And that time frame also depends on the standards and regulations set forth by that country and their laws. Because we have different codes in the laws between Europe and the US. So in Europe you can get a third-party verifications, like an extended producer responsibility scheme, otherwise known as an EPR, where the company will hire a third party to verify that their product is compostable. And that means it was tested in a laboratory, like one of the ones that we have at my school. And if it has that sticker, then you also have to look for home compost or just compost, which means it can be composted in an industrial composting facility, if it even really exists where you live.
Right.
They're so new, and the technology, it's really in the research and development stage. You're not going to see an industrial composting facility grow overnight. It's going to be a 5 to 7 year process before the blueprint is laid out to the final operating day of that industrial composting facility. So again, it's really greenwashing schemes.
It's interesting that you bring that up, because I was at the farmer's market the other day here in Boulder, and we have compostable plastic. And one of the guys like working at the farmer's market was separating out the trash, because everyone was just throwing away these plastic cups, and he was putting them back in the compost bin. The education's not there, and a lot of this compostable plastic is ending up in the trash.
Like we were saying before, it's not really just up to the corporation, and it's not up to just the consumer, but it's a collaborative effort that everybody has to work together. And it's really a strong circle, because if the consumer isn't demanding from the company or the corporation, we want more sustainable options, then the corporation doesn't care. They're just there to make a profit. They're not trying to save the environment. But when the consumer is saying, hey, I'm not going to buy your product anymore because you're not following environmental regulations, then the corporation and the company says, well, now we don't have anybody to make us money, so we need to follow these rules and these regulations. And it's really just a whole circle that bypasses me how people don't make this connection.
Yeah, because I see this a lot, that people want to just blame the corporations. If we're just saying, like, we want you to change your ways, but then we continue to, like, funnel money into the, like, give them money, then that they don't care, right? Like, they're gonna just keep doing what...
You vote with your dollar,
exactly.
100%.
But it is hard to avoid entirely, so there is an element of, like, there's only so much we can do as consumers, so it is important to like put some of the responsibility back onto the producer, but like she said, it's a circle.
It's a collaborative effort. Everybody has to work together. Governments, corporations, consumers. Actually, being back home in America, I'm coming from Europe being there for a year now, I'm actually in awe at how many people still use plastic bags or plastic water bottles here. Even my own family, like we live in Florida. It's 92 degrees and humidity, and my family keeps their plastic water bottles in their garage. And we study analysis and reports during my program, analyzing the polymers and the plasticizers that leach out of the plastic into the drinking water, the food product that's in the plastic, when exposed to high temperatures and conditions and atmosphere that it's not used to. And it's not good for our health, and the use of plastic bags can easily be avoidable. In Europe, you don't see plastic bags anywhere. People use reusable bags, or paper bags aren't the answer either. And buying 100 reusable bags is also not the answer, right? So yeah, the answer is just to reduce as much as you can, consume as much as, like, don't consume, consume less.
Yeah, exactly. I remember when I was in school studying environmental economics, we talked about like the life cycle analysis of different bags. So we looked at paper bags, plastic bags, reusable plastic bags, the typical tote bags you see that are on sale at Sprouts. And a lot of people, this is kind of misguided, they mean well, but say they forget their bags when they go to the grocery store, and then they get to the checkout line and they're like, oh shit, I forgot my bags. So instead of just bagging their stuff in like the single-use like plastic bags, they'll grab another reusable plastic bag. They'll be like, oh, I'll just get another one of these. And if you look at the amount of resources that go into making that one single reusable, I don't know why I keep doing quotes, but like that one single reusable bag compared to that one single-use plastic bag, it's just, you have to use it like 700 times before it makes up for, before you're doing anything good, right? And so what would be the true eco-friendly option in that scenario would be to get the cheap plastic bag, put your groceries in it, take it home, and then reuse that bag a bunch of times.
Yeah, as much as you can.
Yeah, it's really about convenience. Our culture, we've just become incredibly lazy and spoiled.
Especially the people that deliver their groceries to their house.
Oh my god. Okay, some people, we don't want to be ableist, right? Like some people, like these services are super helpful to them, but like for the average person, if you're an able-bodied person, like there's no excuse for this. And like, especially food delivery services, like this is just late-stage capitalism at its finest. Like, okay, my mom was actually on a subscription for Purple Carrot, which the recipes are really dank, not gonna lie, but it's a meal delivery service, it's all plant-based, and after like a month or two, she had to cancel because of all the packaging. Like, everything's wrapped in plastic. They portion everything out so you don't have to measure anything. You just throw it all together for like convenience and, you know, speed or whatever. And they send you like all the ingredients that you need for this recipe and like a tiny little plastic container with like the right amount of lemon juice that you need and like the right amount of like vegan mayo in this tiny little plastic container. And then of course everything is like double wrapped in plastic, and then there's like styrofoam, and then it's all shipped to you in a big box. And it's like, and my mom would wash these little containers out and reuse them, right? And I actually have a lot of them that I use for my like toiletry items when I go to the Zero Market, and like I have lotions and stuff. So I have been reusing them, but like if you're ordering, if you have a food delivery service for months and months and months, like you don't need that many of these little plastic containers, so it's just, it's so excessive.
Wasteful.
Yeah. Speaking of just waste in general, our super like convenience driven culture, takeout is one of those things where it's like, come on people, like that's a convenience we can do without for the most part. Like I used to work at a Thai restaurant and it drove me insane, like how much plastic packaging. We wrapped everything in styrofoam and then threw some plastic utensils in there and some paper napkins and then tied it all up in a plastic bag for you to come pick up. And it's like, you can just eat at the restaurant.
Open your own container.
It's better anyway. Like by the time you get home, it's cold and it's just like, yeah. Or if you really need takeout, bring your own container. Like, we're not asking for some grand sacrifice for people to make. Like these are conveniences that we've become so used to. We've become super spoiled, and we're not saying that we want to just go back to the old days where we're not idolizing or romanticizing the past. Like obviously we appreciate all of the modern technologies, like modern medicine, modern dentistry. I got my cavity filled this morning, like yay, modern dentistry. I can get a cavity filled with anesthesia. Like that's amazing, and that's all because of technology and like resource extraction. But what I'm trying to say is we're not taking away all of these things. We're just taking away the like trivial conveniences, right? Like, do you really need to order takeout, or can you bring your own container?
Yeah.
And there's so many examples of these like ridiculously wasteful habits we've become accustomed to. Like one of my favorite YouTubers, Shelby, she has a series called, or it's an anti-haul series where she talks about like wasteful trends that she hates, kind of to combat all of these haul videos you see on YouTube where people just showcase their new clothing haul, like they just went on a shopping spree and they're just showing their audience like all this stuff they bought. She just talks about like wasteful things she hates. And one example I can think of is my dad recently, love you dad, but he insists on using those little plastic floss picks, which are single-use plastic. I mean, you can reuse them. I actually reused one of those for like 2 months. I washed it. But anyways, they're designed to be single-use. I'm sure my dad uses them once and tosses them out. But he insists on using them because when you use regular floss, you know, like the circulation in your fingers gets cut off. It's like a tourniquet, he says. And so, like, that's like such a minor inconvenience. Like, you can get over that. Like, you can use regular floss. You're gonna be okay. Like, you don't need this freaking plastic floss pick. Like, I don't know. That's just one example I can think of. I anti-haul floss picks. So to summarize, you know, we're not asking people to make a grand sacrifice. We're not trying to go back to the dark ages. We're just acknowledging that this consumer-driven capitalist system that we're currently living in is not sustainable, and we're going to have to make small sacrifices to continue to live on this planet. And a few of those sacrifices are things that we've listed: takeout, floss picks. And a lot of people have this mentality that this is the thing we see a lot at Greenpeace, is we'll try to stop them on the street, like, hey, do you want to help fight plastic pollution? And they're like, oh yeah, I'm doing my part. Like, I recycle. It's like, great job.
You had a gold sticker, or
we should honestly have gold stars.
Yeah,
just give people.
Good job.
Like, okay, congratulations, you recycle. And another one is those stupid bracelets, the 4Ocean bracelets.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
You heard of this company? They're cleaning the ocean.
It's a for-profit business, by the way. Did you know that?
No.
I watched this video on YouTube about it, and it was like, is 4Ocean a scam? And he looked into this non-profit, and it's just a freaking business. Like, the amount of plastic that they clean up is like so minute. Like, this is what we say all the time at Greenpeace, is like, we have to cut it off at the source, otherwise cleaning it up is futile. But what 4Ocean has done is they've taken this environmental cause that is legitimate, right? And they've turned it into this like capitalist endeavor where they're just like selling people bracelets. And it's like at the end of the day, like where's that bracelet gonna end up? Like when it's not trendy anymore, like it's probably gonna end up back in the trash. Like it's just a joke, honestly. But people feel really good about themselves because they recycle and they buy bracelets. And recycling is kind of a hoax, would you say?
It is. It's a research and development industry at best.
Yeah.
I mean, the US and a lot of other, Europe included, a lot of countries in Europe were shipping their recycling to different parts of the world, like China. And all of our waste was ending up in China, and people think, oh yeah, it's cool, I'm not going to clean my peanut butter or my yogurt because it's just going to be done at the recycling facility. Well, when that container goes onto a shipping cargo and it's shipped to China and it sits there for 6 months in just natural conditions, it's going to mold, and then it's going to contaminate the rest of the batch. And when that container is opened, when it arrives at its destination, they just throw everything away. So we're shipping our garbage to the other side of the world, which is not okay either. And
then we have the audacity to blame China and India.
Yeah. I mean,
like, don't get me wrong, like,
they're also at fault.
Yeah, like, it's all of us, but it's just honestly racist when people are like, take that up with India and China, like, they're the ones polluting our oceans. It's like, we're shipping our trash to these countries that lack the infrastructure. And it's like, you can blame them all you want, but like, you also have to take personal responsibility, right? Yeah.
And now that China's banned it with this new law saying that they're no longer going to accept our recycling anymore, and plastic is actually seen as a code red, like it can't be imported to China at all anymore. And other recyclable materials are code yellow, so you need a lot of paperwork, and it needs time to process before it gets the green light to be able to ship out to China. So now we're taking our trash and our recycling and we're shipping it to other countries like Malaysia. So now we're just polluting other parts of the world.
Recycling is a hoax.
In certain parts of the world. Like, we had to do a field trip, which I haven't done since I felt like I was in elementary school. But we took a field trip to a recycling plant in Austria, and they showed us firsthand how the recycling process works and all of the materials and products that they were making from recycled plastic. So PET, code 1, polyethylene terephthalate, can be recycled in an open loop system, which means it can be recycled continuously until an impurity is found in the resin. Whereas other types of plastics can only be recycled on a closed loop, which means it only gets downgraded into lesser grades of plastic.
Most types, right?
Most types.
Yeah.
So PET, code 1, if you have the industry like we do in Austria where I live, it can be recycled on an open loop.
And if you don't, like, what would your solution be?
Consume less.
Take to the streets.
This is actually what we do. So join Extinction Rebellion.
No, honestly, like, there's a global environmental movement just, like, brewing.
It's growing. It's only 11 months old, and it's global.
Yeah.
We were watching it from our computers and happening in London while we were in Amsterdam, and organizing and coordinating. And if you want to contribute somehow, just contribute. With whatever skill you have, come. Please, everybody, join.
It's like, we should all be doing the best we can. Just try your best to reduce the amount of packaging and education. Talk about these things. Vote.
Vote, yeah.
And then obviously protesting is so important. That's really the only way we can make social change is, well, lead by example, of course, but like, it doesn't stop there.
No.
Like, you can't simply, well, I guess you could say lead by example and go protest, you know. And channel that stress and anger and like those feelings of hopelessness into action. And that's where you find hope.
Amongst other people who are also in the same boat, rowing along.
Right.
So I found when I was volunteering with Extinction Rebellion in Amsterdam, the longer I spent with people, the more I felt like I had a reason to get up at 5 in the morning and go out there and protest, and felt the adrenaline just rushing through my body and feeling a sense of hope that we're going to change things if we all just stand here together and we're not in this alone.
Yeah. And honestly, like, seeing where I've come from, like, if you were to compare my high school self with who I am today,
I resonate with that.
It's like, if I can change, other people can change. It's a ripple effect, right? So it's like, we can feel like nothing's changing, but seeing how much of a consumer I used to be, like, even as a vegan, I talked about this in my video on secondhand shopping tips. I used to shop at H&M, Forever 21. I used to make lists. I used to be like, in middle school, I would just read 17 magazine like it was the Bible. Just like make lists of things I needed, you know, like eyeliner, like whatever the fuck, like all these makeup products and like skin products, and it's like, there's so much you don't need, honestly.
Yeah, that's a huge thing that I've noticed in just by doing your own research and through the program as well. Like all the like packaging in terms of body wash and shampoo and these things that we use in the bathroom, that packaging is far from being able to be recycled. So I would recommend people to find somewhere where you can either refill the product, use bar soaps or bar shampoos. Lush has some really nice ones. Or you can make your own if you're feeling up to in the DIY.
DIY?
DIY. DIY. Do it yourself craft day. But I also found that, so I'm gonna share an embarrassing tidbit about myself. So I've always had dandruff for the longest time since I can remember. And then I was using these chemical shampoos so that you don't get dandruff. But then the more like I researched these shampoos, the more I realized these harsh chemicals that I'm putting on my scalp every day. And then I got so fed up in the shampoo aisle one day because I was tired of all of these brands marketing their product, telling me that I need all of these things, and they're all the same shit. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's all water with some chemicals, and shampoo and body wash is essentially the same thing, and they're all just scamming, and people are just fooled and buying it.
Yeah. Don't be fooled. Don't be that person.
So actually I got so fed up that I just stopped using shampoo and conditioner for 2 months straight. I wouldn't use it or touch it. If I felt like my hair really needed to be washed because I was sweaty that day, I would use my same bar soap and just run the bar soap through my hair, run it through my scalp, and then it was fine. And actually my dandruff went away. And
oh my god, that's amazing.
I don't even have dandruff anymore, and then
that's awesome.
Yeah, I thought
it's almost as if these products were making it worse. So
what I was going to say is that when I came home to Florida 2 weeks ago, I jumped in my family's pool. Also, waste of water, pools. That's another video. But the chlorine was so heavy in my hair that I felt like I really need to shampoo my hair. And so I shampooed my hair actually 3 days because 3 different days because I went into the pool. And I realized at the end of the week that my dandruff had come back.
Oh my god.
And I was
Shocker.
I was like, I drank the Kool-Aid all my life thinking that these shampoos would help my dandruff, and in reality they're causing it.
Shampoo, pointless plastic.
Pointless
Honestly,
plastic.
like
Pointless
I used to use shampoo. Well, I still shampoo my hair, but I use shampoo from Refill Revolution, and it doesn't have like sulfates in it, so it's not as drying. And I used to get like hella greasy hair after like one day, 24 hours after shampooing my hair. And like, yes, I have gotten older, like that might be a factor, but my hair gets greasy like if I don't wash my hair for like 3 days now. And then I just wear a beanie and it's fine. But like, honestly, these harsh chemicals in regular shampoo are stripping all of your natural oils, making your hair overproduce oils. That's what's making your hair greasy. That's what makes making you have dandruff, possibly. You know, it's like,
and for me at least,
we're just like sold, this is like a tangent completely, but we're just sold all this bullshit. You know?
And we eat it. We just eat it up. We don't question it. Why don't we question it?
In conclusion, we're not asking, I think I've said this like 3 times, but we're not asking people to give up like modern technology entirely and like go back to the dark ages, okay? We're just asking you to make small sacrifices because you put it perfectly earlier. What did you say?
If we don't consume less today, then we're going to be forced into less convenience in the future.
Right, and it's going to be worse. Like,
yeah, of course.
Each year that we fail to act, the situation, the climate crisis
dire.
becomes more and more dire. So
yeah.
Either make some small sacrifices today or make larger ones in the future. And the other thing is that the climate crisis has kind of been framed in a way of like, we have to protect the planet for future generations. And this shit's happening now. And it's because of our consumer-driven culture in the West, in developed countries. We're already having an impact in the global South, like in developing countries. Like they're already dealing with all these problems, like all of our trash is just being dumped onto them essentially, and it's just an injustice.
Especially all the pollution that they endure through all the factories that produce all the stuff that we buy out here. H&M and Forever 21, they have factories in Bangladesh and parts of China, parts of the developing region that produce a lot of emissions and a lot of poor conditions for workers. And when you contribute, or when we contribute to those types of companies and corporations, we're facilitating that to happen.
So it's not just the corporations, it's everyone. It goes both ways. It's the consumers, it's supply and demand. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this very unscripted rant style interview. I don't know. I enjoyed talking with you, Selena.
I enjoyed talking to you too.
So stay tuned for next week, and remember,
consume less.
Yes. Stop being a consumer. Stop giving money to the corporations that you rail against. Alright, see ya.
Yo, how when me eat them, I wonder when me eat. When me tell them say me no eat no fish, nah, no meat now. How when me eat them, I wonder when me yam. When me tell them say that I'm a vegan, man. How when me eat them, I wonder when me eat. When me tell them say me no eat no fish, nah, no meat now.